Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Bunny Operator here. You all know me as Jesse. Welcome back to Inside the Industry. This is episode 6, featuring my good friend Austin Adams of A&A Tactical. Now, if you're not familiar with A&A Tactical, they make soft goods basically, and I personally use A&A's products, primarily their cummerbunds for plate carriers, helmet covers, shoulder pads, as well as like placards and several other knickknacks that you can go. But you can go check out the website. I'll link that throughout the interview. But without further ado, Austin, go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy.
Hey guys, my name is Austin Adams, and I'm one of the founders of A&A Tactical. I had founded this company with my mom back in 2013 to essentially provide custom nylon solutions for military and police departments that pretty much weren't getting a say or an input as to what gear was coming out. So that's kind of where we grew from there, and that's what we do now. We primarily make equipment for specialized small teams within the military and law enforcement realm. And then, of course, civilian shooters that want to use our products as well, and anyone in between. So that's pretty much what we do, essentially. We've branched off to doing different things like night vision rentals, and then also more recently, the development of our shooting range and shoot house called the Strategic Action Development Center. That's on our property out here in West Virginia. So,
nice.
But yeah, that's pretty much what we do now.
Nice. Have you been getting a lot of activity or range usage as of late?
Yeah. We've kind of been treating it like a soft opening because we've still got quite a fair backlog. It's definitely better than last year, but a fair backlog with the nylon production. So
right.
I'd say I've only been putting about 20% of my effort into developing that because I don't want to let the nylon folks down. That's what I started with, and that's what I plan to stay going with.
Right.
But we have had a couple companies use it, and also a few departments express interest in utilizing the facilities out there as well. So it's on track to be something locally. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like an excellent range from what you and I have talked about offline, and it looks like you've gotten a few folks who sponsor the range or so, or to put their branding over there. So that's legit, man.
Yeah. We got Velocity Systems out there. Burgess Spitzer Customs, which is now formerly now known as, I should say, Alpin Design Works. And then we got Shaw Concepts out there too, Night Vision Inc., who we also do night vision for. So yeah, we got a bunch of different people out there. It's a blank slate, essentially. You're allowed to bring vehicles out there. We got barricades, a lot of barrels. So yeah, it's a fun little environment. Lots of little different things you can do out there. And we can shoot up until about 11 o'clock at night. So we're probably running a night vision course on the 19th of this month. So we're going to be able to get it in starting at around 6 o'clock, 5:30 even. So it's nice with this daylight savings time. I don't fully understand why we do daylight savings time, but it allows me to have a longer schedule for night vision use around this time. So I don't really complain. And I just take it as a gift and move on. But yeah, so,
That's awesome, man. I look forward to how that progresses for you, especially we've all the entire industry, and actually every industry has probably been hit by this shutdown that's going on. I know soft goods especially.
Yeah.
I recall conversations with you about some of the raw materials that you guys are getting. The QC for those are down, right? You're getting like freight items as they come in. You can't put that out for customers, but you're doing the best you can, and doing a pretty good job at it, actually. So even when I place orders, they still come in relatively reasonable time. So I'm pretty happy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. The COVID supply chain issues really definitely hit us quite a bit, and luckily, I didn't think, I always thought right now even and I'm sure it's probably going to affect us, but before I would see instances in this 5 or 3-4 years ago of some sort of supply issues, or so like a bunch of shit cargo containers backed up, or a port being backed up, and people are like, oh, I'm waiting for this to come in. And I was like, man, I love being US made. We're never going to be affected by this. But then COVID happened, and I'm like, oh, well, we're still US made. At least we don't have to have international trading. But then that mask mandate came into play. And then all of everyone's machines that were tooled to do like 4-inch or anything larger, everyone tooled down and focused all on small, narrow elastic that nobody in the mil spec world uses, for these type of products. And so we had to wait an incredibly long time to get materials. It was outright insane. And then when they did start to come in, because of the trickle down effect of, chemicals not being as prevalent or being more expensive, the quality control went down, or some companies were using other companies to be able to fulfill stuff, and the quality control went down. And so it was a nightmare. We waited so long for some multicam, and then eventually when we got some cases of it, now a case is a pretty good amount of fabric. It usually costs in the multicam range, it's about $1,000 to $2,000 depending on the color and where you get it from. But and we had to turn whole cases away, and that makes a lot of materials, or it catches up on a lot of orders. We had to turn whole cases away because the quality wasn't there. And so not only do we wait months, but when we got the product, it wasn't good enough for us to put out and work with, so we had to get it back. So yeah, but luckily everything seems to be working well now. It's just at IFAI, which is the Industrial Fabrics Association International Expo, and that was in Nashville, Tennessee. I was there last week, and I was talking with a lot of our distributors and suppliers, and everything definitely seems to be looking like it's looking up for the most part. So
yeah, I saw that. I saw your post about you were out there with Shaw Concepts, right? You two were roaming around.
Yeah. We were having a good time. It was really cool, man. There was all sorts of crazy machines, and like there's some I call them job thief machines, and it's pretty impressive. You just like lay the material down, and it's a big it's like a big plate that comes down and holds it, and it'll sew the pattern for you. And it's like, man, it's super automated now, and it's crazy. It's really impressive. But yeah, it's a really cool event. I definitely recommend going to it. It's not as cool as SHOT Show, but it's definitely pretty neat as well.
It's a different world. It's like I always tell folks that it's good to learn detailed intricacies about different different communities, or just different industries in general, because they're all tied together one way or another. And like this concept too. Well, as far as like soft goods, like people just think that you're just sewing stuff, but no, there's a lot that goes into even design and design, putting it together, making sure that parts are rugged. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. But I definitely appreciate that insight into there. I mean, I suppose that we can do like a separate video, or maybe we can have you do a vlog or something like that for inside the soft goods industry.
Yeah, I would love to do something like that. It's definitely wild. There are so many industries you never even think of. I was in New Orleans 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I looked up at the convention center sign, and it was like next week, and then it said like Elevator Workers Union Convention, and I'm like, that's a thing? I didn't even know that's a thing. So like, but yeah, so there's definitely, I barely scratched the surface. I already know it just from going to that event and seeing the scale of it all. It really made me, it humbled me, to say the least, I should say. So,
well, I think that's a good idea, because when I saw your post about that, with Shaw in front of you, essentially, I thought that was a great post, because I thought it was like it's something different from just having gun stuff all the time, or having product stuff all the time. So I think it's great. I mean, the whole point of us doing these social media or public things is to help educate other firearms owners, or just the community in general. So I think that's good. I would like to see more of that. I mean, if you folks watching, you want to see more of that, let Austin know. Comment below or message him directly. Yeah. Give them the kudos for that.
I'll be more than welcome to do so once I get good internet. As you know, Jesse, my internet's not the best and everything. Right. We're waiting for Starlink to come through. And so I'm actually at my mom's place right now in Hagerstown, and she's got a little bit better of internet. So that's pretty sad. I'd be more than happy to do videos. I do plan on doing that. I would like to do a bunch of informative and like educational things, like what to look out for, because there's a lot of things that the customer can look out for to determine whether or not gear is good, or if it's made to par. And you don't have to spend years and years in the sewing world to be able to pick up something and be like, oh, this is done right. Mm-hmm. I would definitely love to touch on things like that in the future.
Yeah, no, that's great, because instead of hearing it from random dudes on the internet like me, you get it directly from the industry sources and stuff. That's awesome. That's awesome. And for the backstory for you folks who are watching, so Austin and I had planned to do this interview for quite some time now, but because of the internet situation, and Austin was waiting for was it Starlink to be available to his area. But at this point, we just Austin just contacted me recently and said, you know what, let's just do it. I'll go to my mom's and we'll sort it out.
She actually just got some better internet before too. Her internet wasn't the best either, but she just got access to better internet herself about 2 weeks ago. So so it's looking better for all of us, right? I didn't even think it was like this in this country, man. Like I didn't think that there was infrastructure issues like this, and it's kind of crazy. My family in Thailand has faster internet than me here, so in West Virginia. So
yeah. And so segueing from there too, if y'all didn't know, what's interesting is that Austin is half Thai. So his dad's side is from Thailand, essentially, and that lineage. So we've had stories or conversations about Austin's childhood and growing up. If you guys know my second page, Sticky Rice Foundation, I post like sticky rice and food and like utensils and stuff. And Austin was pretty receptive to that, so responding to me. And we had good conversations about our childhood. So I thought that was great. So so Austin is a fellow yellow, if you guys didn't know.
Yep, I am. Yeah, so my dad is from Surin province in Thailand, and he grew up on a farm out there. I guess you say like a little bit of a little village, and then his mom sent him off to go to school to be educated in Bangkok, and he went and ended up being a novice monk, and he was doing like some sort of volunteer work or something, and I think he was like guiding my mom around. I should have confirmed all of this actually while I was here before I got here, but I totally forgot. But I only know the gist of it. But somehow he met my mom, and they linked up, and then she took him back to the U.S. and then now I'm here. So that's pretty much what it was. He went to college while he was here, and then he got his degree. He still prefers to work like a manual labor job, though. He's been with Giant Food, so he's a store manager there, and he works there. He's been with them for, I think, longer than I've been alive. So well over 30 years now, I think. And, but yeah, he just enjoys work and hard work. And then my mom, she used to just like pack up and go places. When she graduated high school or maybe graduated college, I think the first time around, she ended up getting a one-way plane ticket over to West Africa and then just hitchhiked around there. And spent, I think, 3 or 4 years between West Africa and the Mediterranean region of Europe. And like, it's some of the stories she's told me is pretty wild. And she's been kidnapped, I think, like 2 times while traveling through Africa and stuff. And she went to the PLO headquarters at the time. The PLO was apparently very friendly and very cool at the time, and was like, "Hey, you want to join us? And you want to join our cause?" And at the time, nobody ever really understood what it was, or it wasn't a big thing, And my mom was like, well, I'll come to your guys' little clubhouse. Why not? And they like showed my mom around, and they're like, so this is what we want to do, And he's like, you want to join him? I was like, I'm okay. I appreciate it. They're like, all right, we'll take you back. And then they took her back, And then later on, they turned into Al Qaeda, a lot of them. And but yeah, it was my mom did that a second time around through Southeast Asia, and that's when she met my dad. But yeah, she's pretty crazy, and I inherited a lot of that, I would say. And,
dude, that's a gnarly story, man.
Yeah, and my mom like puts it on me too. It's kind of crazy because when I was younger, my mom was like, I want to take my kid out for like a month to go take a train across Siberia, Russia, and down into Mongolia and down into China. And the school system was like, all right, well, just have him write a paper about it when he comes back and we'll let him go. And so like in December, with winter, it's like the craziest time to travel through Siberia. My mom flew us over to Moscow, Russia. And I spent my 13th or 14th birthday in Moscow, Russia. And at the time, my mom and I would just split up. And like as a teenager, you're like, I don't want to be with my mom, too cool for my mom and stuff. And like looking back, I'm like, yo, my mom is crazy for letting me run around that country by myself, like all these countries. And then number 2, I was like, I'm freaking crazy for running around without my mom, like with these countries. But she like just let me do that because that's what she did too. She was like, she's like pushing me out the nest, And so it was an interesting experience. It definitely interesting childhood growing up and stuff. But luckily, everyone got back safe and in one piece. But
well, I mean, it certainly shaped you into a likable person. I mean, I'm
yeah.
with you, so.
I've also like it makes me hesitant when I'm or it makes me like because I've traveled in these countries. I'm more like my eyes are more alert in this country, you know, and I when you travel to third world areas or like, I mean, I wouldn't say like Russia's a third world country, but the Siberian region, I would say is like pushing that like a lot of poverty and everything. Mm-hmm. And, like when you see that kind of stuff firsthand, and then even in Beijing, China, cause my mom, like when we got off the train, she had reservations for this 4-star hotel. And, when we got off the train, there was this guy holding a cardboard sign with Sharpie written on it. And it was like hostel, free internet and video games. And like all these tourists were like, oh yeah, we'll do that. And my mom's like, you want to go with these people and just try that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's just get with the guy with the cardboard sign and just ditch our normal plans, which like, again, looking back seems crazy. And like how we have our kidneys, I don't know. And like, but they took us to this little hostel really close to Tiananmen Square. And like, it was in the ghetto area of it. And it was fine. Everything was totally fine. I'd be walking around at like midnight going to McDonald's and stuff and everything would be totally cool. But like seeing all the homeless people and the people in disparity there, it's definitely like coming back, it changes you. And, I think it's definitely refreshing. I think everyone kind of needs to get out of the country to kind of see these people, also to see how hard these people work and like to see like where these people come from, you know, and yeah, that's all. It definitely changes, you know, who you are. Yeah. And you coming from it, you coming from it, you know how, you know, blessed we are to be here and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's interesting to see the normalization of that lifestyle for them. You know, it's not, and that's not by choice. It's because that's what they were born into. Or have settled into, unfortunately, you know. So yeah, we are very fortunate to be in the situations where we are, you know. So I guess that's a life lesson from A&A Tactical from Austin. You know, be grateful for what you have.
Right. Yeah. If you're not selling potatoes in -20 at the train station, you know, your life's looking good. I mean, it was cold there, man. But,
yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So we're going to move on to the general questions that we have for interview.
Sure.
So we did a general overview of who you are, the company, what you do essentially. And you noted in your intro that you started the company with your mom. So she's the other half to the A then. Is that right? Yes,
yeah. Contrary to popular belief, and I'm not the narcissist that would name their company Austin and Adams Tactical. It stands for Austin and Alexandra, my mom, or Austin and Alex for short. So either one's fine. But yes, yeah, I started it with her back in 2013 because at the time I had the ideas, but I didn't have the sewing skills. So she had the sewing skills and I had the marketing and the kind of know-how to kind of know what works and what doesn't work. I guess I should kind of touch on where that came from too and how I became involved in the firearms industry. I know that was one of the questions that you wanted to ask. But my mom, despite her being as crazy as she was, I don't think she ever carried a firearm during all this that was going on. I definitely know it when I was in Russia, but I know when she was traveling herself, she didn't. And even when she came back, she didn't. The first gun that she ever purchased was with me when I was younger. So I didn't really have where the firearms infatuation came from. I don't know, but it started at a young age. And my mom, it was in 93, and I was about maybe 2 and a half, maybe almost 3 years old. Yeah, about 2 years old. And my mom was like, did you want to go to Disney World? And I was like, no, I don't want to go to Disney World. She's like, where do you want to go? And I said, I want to go to Somalia. And that's literally what I said. You can ask my mom. and to this day, I have not been to Somalia. I was 3 years old because it was 94, I think is when it happened. Maybe 93. I can't remember exactly what had happened. But yeah, I was really young age. And I told my mom that I wanted to go there to help them out. And to this day, I have not gone to Disney World. And I'm not going to go to Disney World until I get the first objective done, and that's Somalia. But just to check it out. I don't plan on doing any fighting or anything. I would just like to visit just to, touch my toes in the sand and then, dip out real quick. But just to say that I did it. But yeah, and then growing up too, I always got like little GI Joes and little army men, and then my parents would take me to this Indian lady's house, and she would watch us, and she had a no firearms policy, and I don't know if it was because of like her Hindu beliefs or something like that, or like no violence and stuff, which I respect, it's your house and stuff. But I would sneak my little guys in, and I would go lock myself in the bathroom, and then I would play with the toys inside the bathroom. And then when I got older, I went to Thailand, and I got an airsoft gun when I was in Thailand off a little cart in the village. It was like a little spring airsoft gun. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then when my dad went to Thailand every year, he'd bring them back in his suitcase or his luggage and stuff. And I eventually found an airsoft place when I was in middle school. That was a 17,000 square foot like shoot house. And the military and police would also come in on the weekdays and use it as like a munitions facility and do close quarters battle training, school shooting drills, things like that. And on the weekends is when civilians could go and shoot each other with airsoft guns. So I started going there, having my dad take my friends and I there, and I started going there a bunch. And then the trainer there had these like little CQB classes that he would teach for the public, like how to handle doorways and how to stack up at the time, which by the way, that stuff has completely changed. The way the gunfighting world has changed since I was back in there, the 2004-ish era compared to now is completely different. I definitely got to brush up on a lot of things. And but it was really cool being in there as a kid and, being able to shoot your friends and everything. But I took a couple of the classes, and then the trainer was like, "Hey, do you want to work here?" And I was like, "Oh man, that would be like the coolest thing ever to actually work here." And so I ended up, he took me under his wing, and I ended up living with the guy for like a couple summers and stuff. And it was really cool. He taught me how to shoot, and he used to do like State Department security work and like to protect VIP people like Colin Powell and stuff. And he served in the Black Hawk Down incident as well. He wasn't in the initial raid itself, but he was a part of like the cleanup crew after that came the following day and stuff. And I think he was in the Rangers as well. But yeah, he was a good mentor to have because my parents weren't in the firearms community. They wouldn't know where to start. And that's why they left me with him. And so I worked there and really excelled, I guess you should say. It was a lot of fun being like op4 and like being a school shooter and shooting at the police and stuff. It was pretty neat. It was definitely an interesting experience. She was like, "What'd you do this weekend, Austin?" And I explained to them what I'd do. And like, in school, it'd be definitely a weird thing to say. And then eventually I got into high school and things kind of changed. I kind of like, you mentioned the like hurdles that the Asian Americans have. And like, I was always an outcast in school, and I never really like fit in. We didn't have very many Southeast Asian kids. And like, even then, like everyone always kind of just chalked me up as the Spanish kids, or people would come up to me and say like, start speaking Spanish and expect me to know it. And I don't know it. And I'd be in the cart with my mom, and people would come up and say, "Oh, cute kid, where did you get him? Like, where did he, like, what country did he come from?" or something like that. And it's like everyone always just looks at me like I'm like an outcast, it's always the elephant in the room. And in high school, I kind of like started running with the bad crowd and like getting involved with drugs and stuff. And I got into some legal trouble. And then shortly after I got out of high school, I got into trouble again. And then while I was waiting some, like one of my trials and stuff, I met my wife while I was at the bar, and I was like, "Man, this is a pretty cool lady." And I about 2-3 weeks after I started like officially dating her, I'd say, I had a dream that she had seen me using drugs, and she wasn't really like trying to change my life or anything like that. She was always like, "Hey, just like when you're ready to stop, if you're going to stop, you're going to stop. But if not, it is what it is." And so like, I didn't have a real reason to stop, but one night I had a dream, and like she went into the bathroom and saw me using drugs and stuff, and she just like looked so disgusted. And I woke up the next day, and I was like, "You know what? I gotta stop this." And I was like, "I need to find different hobbies." And so I like went back to like my old roots, and back in 2004, the bee's knees was like the Paraclete Rav, and it's like this big giant plate carrier that takes bulk armor with just soft armor and stuff. And I was like, let me look this up and let me get some MSA sword-ins, and I'm gonna start like building up my kit again. And I was like, you know what? These MSA sword aren't the most comfortable thing under a helmet. Let me like make a little padded band for the top of it. And there were companies at the time that had made them. And I was like, you know what? Let's also offer it with infrared Velcro on tape as well at the same time. So that way people could have IFF or like, IR identification and stuff. And, it also set it aside from people in the other companies, and so we started offering, or no, I made that little thing. And then I sold the headset. And then this guy in Brazil that we sold the headset to was like, who made this? And we're like, we made it. And he's like, we should make some more. And so I was like, you know what, Mom, let me find out where I can buy some of this Cordura and some of this thread, and we'll see if we can make some more of these things. And so we got them, and we put a couple colors up on eBay. And then a few weeks later, a local police department over in Gaithersburg saw us, and they were like, hey, can you make headsets for us? And I was like, oh man, we can definitely do that. And he's like, come by, we can give you one to take home, and you can make it for us. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I go over there, they give me the headset, I pull into my driveway, and then they call me. And I'm like, oh man, what's going on? And in my head, I'm like, oh man, they looked me up. They're like, the gig is up. They know that I'm like some crazy troublemaking kid. Because at this point, I mean, like I haven't been out of trouble more than like a year and a half or 2 years. And like at the time, I felt like I'd turned my life around. But on paper, it's like, oh, this guy's just been getting away with stuff he's just been under the radar for X amount of years. And then I pick up the phone, and they're like, hey, can you make shoulder pads for us? And I was like, yeah, I sure, I could figure it out. Why not? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, because we've voiced our concerns to the original company about these not being the best, and we want them done a little bit differently, and they're not really listening. And I was like, sure, yeah, we could do that. And to this day, like they still, when they have a new person for their team that gets issued that carrier, we still make the shoulder pads and stuff. So, but and then after that, it kind of just snowballed. I just did little things here and there, a lot of custom jobs that I took on, helped become products that you see on the site now. And but yeah, that's kind of how I got into the industry there, and kind of what brings me up to where I am now.
That's awesome, dude. Just like very humble beginnings. We've all made mistakes in our life, and of course, personal choices, and you're never going to change unless you want to change for yourself, but you did it for yourself.
Yeah.
I guess with the introduction of your now wife, but then the lovely lady at the bar. So that's awesome. Yeah. And it sounds like your initial product or that first item that was sold was based on your own experience from the airsoft or sim world, right? Just from working in that industry and using products rather. So using products, so the designs come from your own use, your own testing and evaluation. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So it's very grassroots. It sounds like that's the way it should be in the industry. And that's one thing I did want to touch on. I didn't get to touch on the other interview that I did the other day, but I might get flack from this, and I don't care because I've seen it firsthand. But airsoft players are some of the best people for test and evaluation stuff because they go out every weekend. And at that facility that I went to, it was essentially the same sim house that the military and the police were using at the time. And there was stuff getting ripped on walls. You would know there if gear failed or if it made it or not. And that's why when we first started out, and I was curious when we initiated products, we had people who are airsoft players reach out and say, hey, I was wondering if I could test this product. I'll take some pictures and stuff. And I was like, and we would send it out with very little questions asked, because I knew that this person was going to actually put that to the test, and they're going to play around with it a lot more than somebody who's actually in service will. And that's, like I said, I want to be very careful with the way I say that. That doesn't mean that special operators are the better person, to go off. It's just that the people who do the airsoft and they do it heavily, like every weekend or something like that, those people, they do really put their gear through quite a bit of paces. I get that. I mean, it's like there's that there's a mental lack of true danger, if you will. So you're a lot more brazen in the things you do. So you're more than likely to start climbing random crap that you're not normally going to climb over. So I totally get that. It's definitely a test bed. It's definitely a test bed, that's for sure. But to discount the entire airsoft community would be there's a fallacy behind that logic. It's kind of like gatekeeping in a way.
Absolutely. Yeah, which is something I don't support. I know a lot of the people in the airsoft community I know that went on into the military and went on to
Mhm.
special operations or went on to do other things. And it definitely gave them a lot of skills prior to going in there. Manipulation of weapons, with reloads, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we want the input from the special operations warfighter. But to those just starting out, if you need people for testing and evaluation, definitely don't be afraid to send stuff to airsoft players to play with. And don't just knock it as just the airsoft player, So
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's that that timeless saying where it's like, what can you get out of this? What information, what data point can we get from XYZ item? Like even if on the surface it doesn't seem like it's a valuable source of information, but there's always going to be that share of the market, right? So even from a marketing or business perspective, you having your marketing background or so, it's like it's simple. Here's a segment of the market that's untouched, so let's go and grab that. Let's figure out what's going on there. So right
absolutely.
on, man.
Yeah, you don't want to piss those guys off either, because they're going to buy your stuff too at the end of the day. And if you're anti-airsoft, then you're probably, realistically, you're going to cut out probably about 25% of your business, I'd say. So it's yeah.
Yeah, right on. So we basically touched on how you got into the industry, a lot of your really awesome background, a really interesting background, it seems like. Let's see here. So going back to I know we talked a bit about this before the interview, but the your Asian experience too. And I mentioned that because of the type of Asian or heritage that I am, and I'm used to seeing Thai and Lao people or darker skinned Asians. Like when I look at you, I know you're Asian, but some of the other mainstream Asians or the folks that aren't as exposed as much may look at you and not see you as Asian. Hence, you're growing up, people are thinking you're like an adopted Mexican child or something. So how did you personally deal with that, growing up or so, or has that affected, I guess, how you reacted? Because you mentioned there's not a lot of Asians where you grew up also.
Yeah, I guess it helped me how I reacted. I definitely I guess that's one of the reasons why I leaned more towards firearms, was because I knew that in firearms, that I guess the self-defense world as a whole, that guy, Tim, who I had lived with, that trainer, he taught me like a lot of self-defense stuff and kind of just toughened me up and everything. And so I think that that's what helped a lot, to help not get picked on, and to be able to help kind of defend myself. And that's the way I kind of look at, firearms as a whole. Why I think that a lot of Asian Americans or just any minorities in general should be armed is because there aren't very many of us out there, and not many people understand our struggles and some of the things that we may have gone through. And if you feel like you're the only one there, then the firearm helps you. I guess it helps me. My car broke down the other day, and I forgot to bring a firearm with me. We don't have street lights out here in the middle of West Virginia on some of the roads, and I was like, man, a firearm is really nice right now. So, but yeah, being an outcast and stuff. Growing up, I guess that's kind of also why I kind of turned to drugs too, like we were all kind of outcasts, a lot of us, and all kind of weirdos. And I don't know, we were all kind of like the quirky folks, I guess you could say. And all people from different backgrounds. Their parents split up, and like where I grew up was a very nice area, like one of the richest counties in the country, called Montgomery County. And being a minority, sometimes it's not the best. At the time, it wasn't always the best, but now it's definitely getting a little bit better. It's definitely getting crazy. There's a lot more crime in Montgomery County now, which is one of the reasons why I moved, is because I'm able to carry a gun now. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of, I've never really been asked that question before. I'm sorry. It's a good one. It's good to kind of reflect on these kind of things. So, it helps you learn as a person, and kind of shape and understands how you got shaped the way that you are. But yeah, I don't know. I guess growing up too, I rolled with a lot of the minorities. That was, I guess, another thing is, I had a couple, like there's mainly all white kids in my neighborhood, but when it came to school, I definitely was with a lot more minorities than it was other white kids and everything like that, despite being half white. We had one other Asian kid on my block or on my street. He was Filipino, but again, he also rolls with me, and then also the other minorities as well. So I guess that also kind of shaped me how I am today too, which I love. I get like I got the best of like all sorts of worlds growing up, and that's the interesting thing is, like, was it like very reclusive at times, or like felt like an outcast? Yeah, I sometimes did. Like kids would say like, you were adopted, or like, don't think that my mom's my real mom, because I'd never seen my dad. My dad was always working or something. You know, like I'd always like, I felt like an alien, you know, or something like that. But as a whole, it shaped me and like got me to see a bunch of different cultures and a bunch of different people and different families that I may not have normally seen or connected with growing up in Montgomery County and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was cool as a whole. As looking back on it now, I there's definitely things like, would I change things? Not too much. I mean, but there are things that I'm going to try to pass on to my future generation to understand, like, this is the way the world works, or,
right.
You know, like, my name is Austin Adams, and that's not Austin Salmon, which is my dad's last name, because my dad didn't want me to possibly like be looked at weird on job applications and stuff like that. And so I keep that same mentality of, you know, I understand that there's like underlying racism and like issues in the world where people, if you have like a hard to pronounce name or like a strange name or something like that, you're not going to get picked for a job. And so, you know, I'm going to pass those type of things down. So on like one hand, like, oh man, this is good. Like, this is a really good question. Like on one hand, like being an outcast, like it does suck and everything, but like, and I want it to stop, and like I want to do everything to not, but like I'm still going to perpetuate it by doing those things that my dad did. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like everyone should be able to name their kid whatever they want to name their kid, and it should be equal in the job applications essentially. But like, you know, I understand this is the real world, and we have to, you know, morph around those kind of things. I can't name my kid weird Tesla things. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like I can't even, I don't even remember what it is, but I just know it's something crazy that he tried to name his kid. And like, you know, like you just don't do that in this world, because like, mm-hmm. They're just going to get ridiculed. They're going to get made fun of. They're going to get turned into an outcast.
Right.
And like, so, you know, it's like, as much as I want everyone to like kumbaya and love each other, like I understand like there's certain things in this world that aren't going to change. And that's like one of them. So, but yeah.
No, absolutely, man. You know, it's one of those heartbreaking truths of the world, you know, as much as some of the ultra conservatives on the right side like to say that there's no such thing as systemic racism and all that stuff, but that's not 100% true across the board, because in some areas there are, you know, you see this, you still kind of see this with I want to say like old school, like really small town police departments or something like that. There's still very much a good old boys club. Same thing with businesses, you know, mm-hmm. It's a generational and cultural, right? So there's no definitive, there isn't XYZ types of racism. And actually, I would imagine even you, when you were traveling abroad, my last guest was Joey, 9mm Musashi, and he's a half Japanese, half white. And in that interview, he said that even in Japan, they were calling him a half-breed and telling his dad to get him out of the country and all that stuff. So I'm curious, like, if you experienced any of that when you were abroad as well.
So I may have in Russia, Mongolia, or China, and I just didn't hear it or understand it. Everyone in Mongolia, like when I heard I was going to Mongolia, I was kind of worried. Like growing up in textbooks and like on South Park, like I'd always seen like a Mongolian coming and messing with the wall. And like I've always told it to violent people. Mongolia was the coolest place ever. And it was the coldest place ever at like -23 or -24. And they're the nicest people in the world. So I didn't experience it there. In Beijing, China, at the time, I don't think I did. Nowadays, I think traveling anywhere, I may get some sort of flack just being an American because of the bad rep that we've been given over the years from X, Y, and Z. But but in Thailand, what's actually kind of interesting, and like I believe, at least the way my family has taught me or told me, but like half white and half Thai people are considered like really hipster, or like that's really cool. And now perhaps like the traditional like ones up in the mountains or something like that, maybe they don't think that way or something like that. But my dad, like, he used to always want me to go back and be a model or something like that in Thailand. And because he said that he would always say that the culture of the public loves half white and half Thai people.
Interesting.
So yeah. And one thing I have noticed in the media in Thailand, though, is that the light-skinned people tend to get the most of the airtime, and the darker-skinned folks don't. And I think that might be what it is it may be looked at as a link to possibly getting that lighter skin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like and so I don't know. I don't know if that's what it is exactly. But yeah, it's so I can't say that I've really experienced it too much abroad. But yeah, I definitely experienced it here. Like when I moved to West Virginia, people, before I grew up my hair like this and started wearing flannel and trucker hats, and I had my beard longer. I had a wedding I had to go to, so it was really long. But like before I did all that, I would get followed around the gas station. I'd pull into a gas station like 10:30, and there'd be nobody in the gas station because it's a town. I live in a town of 600 people, and like so, I'd go inside, and then people from behind the counter would get out and start like following me and start correcting things behind the aisles, or like when I was walking around, like following me and like watching me, like to hurry up and bite, like that kind of shit. And so it's like I experienced this stuff. That was like as late as last year,
Oh wow,
all this stuff. So and yeah, so it still happens, and even to me here, they don't do that overseas. But yeah.
Well, yeah, that's pretty interesting. There is some truth to what you said about the whole, I guess, the traditional Southeast Asian or just general Asian concept of lighter skin too, because that's like goes back to the whole royalty times or dynasty eras when they were like, fair skinned people or fair skinned ladies are so a lot more desirable, or even in I guess Japan when they were putting the white like bird poop on their faces and stuff like that, right? To whiten their skin. So, so they knew you were Thai of some variant, right? Or I would assume when you were over there as a kid, they knew you were Thai, but they knew you were mixed. Or I'm just curious of what their initial impressions are.
Well, okay, so I guess I'd have to really kind of reflect back on when my wife and I were by ourselves in Thailand, because for the most part, when I went more recently, I was either with my dad or my uncle or like a paid driver from my dad. And so the escort or like the driver probably like knew the backstory of my dad and whatnot and knew that was like my dad. So I think like when I went there, I will say this, I did ride on a jet ski, and they didn't try to do the jet ski scam on me. And I didn't tell them that I was half Thai, but I didn't know if I didn't know if that was a jet ski scam site though. But it could have been. And like, but like I didn't get scammed or anything like that. I didn't have any bad run-ins with like the police or anything there. The police are extremely corrupt. But like when I went to the resort area that we were at, it's possible that they were just like, I don't know, they're just supposed to treat everyone nice. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have any bad times or anything like that there with my wife when we were by ourselves. But I don't think that they would know that I was half Thai. I mean, they might. I don't know. I mean, could you pinpoint that I was Thai just looking at me? Because like you definitely, I would not. Yeah, same thing with you. You know what I'm saying? Like you and I both, we would not blend in there. Yeah, or both of our home countries. So necessarily. So yeah, because you're a part of a smaller
correct. Yeah.
Group of folks.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, like a smaller sect, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's even like I can probably blend in as other cultures, just because it's like a general Asian facial feature that I have, so I could probably blend in. But yeah, I mean, if you never just look at me, go, you're Mian, it's like no one does that to pinpoint with that accuracy. So, no, you're absolutely correct. That's a pretty interesting experience. Because I was really curious about your childhood and adulthood. Everyone's is different, but that's the whole point of these interviews is for you to share this. It's like let's put a a human behind the name of A&A Tactical, put the person behind. So I think that's a great thing for you to. Oh, thank you for sharing all this information.
Have you seen, like, one of my favorite things, and this is like, actually, you know what, summing up like what it's like growing up, I guess, in Montgomery County, or like just in general being Thai or being from Southeast Asia, or even you, like this applies to you so much too, I'm sure. But like the King of the Hill episode, when they're like, what does he say? He says, hey, so he's like, so where are you from? He's like, he's from Laos. He's like, so are you Chinese or Japanese? He's like, I'm from Laos. It's a southeast border country. It borders Malaysia. Like goes into these people, and then he stops. He's like, so are you Chinese or Japanese?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like that's.
So are you Chinese or Japanese?
I live in California last 20 years, but first come from Laos.
Huh?
Laos. We lay ocean.
The ocean? What ocean?
We are lay ocean. From Laos, stupid. It's a landlocked country in Southeast Asia. It's between Vietnam and Thailand, okay? Population 4.7 million.
So are you Chinese or Japanese?
Oh.
That's like how it was growing up. And like, you know, people would always say like Ling Ling, you know, like when that one movie came out and they say, Ling Ling, you forgot your bling bling.
Right.
And stuff. Like when I got sent to like some youth programs and stuff like that, they locked me up there. That was my nickname. It was always Ling Ling, you know, or that was one of my nicknames, Ling Ling, which is like, Ling, I think that's like, Ling sounds like a Chinese term, and that's like so far away from Thailand, you know what I say? But it's like, they just throw it at you. And like, that's why I don't like to call just anybody Mexican. And like when I say something like that Mexican restaurant over there or something like that, I say it's really Mexican. I always put in like quotes, it's really Mexican, you know, because like too many people just throw around like Mexican like it's just anything, you know, but like but when I say like that's my Mexican friend, I'm like, he's really Mexican, you know, I always throw that in there, you know, like to make sure people don't just think I'm throwing like, because I don't like that. If they're like, this is my Chinese friend, I'd be like, no, I'm not Chinese, you know. Like if somebody said that, you know, you'd want to correct them. And like, so I appreciate those kind of things, and I just wish a lot of cultures kind of did that too. Because if I was like, it's that German guy, or I was like, it's that sissy French dude, you know, like if you were like Italian and I called you French, you would not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like when it comes to Asian cultures, it's okay. We can just throw them all. It's like, you know, the same thing. But you know, it's
No, you're right. You're right. From we're talking about like language development too, and a lot of Asian cultures aren't as modernized, if you will. Like, you know, for it's only within the last like 100, 200 years or so that they started incorporating Western terminologies in. You know, like we were talking about like Asian terminologies for modern mechanical items like washing machine. It's like the literal translations of words used is it's typically something like clothes washing machine or something, like the literal translation of it. So it's pretty interesting. So I don't know, you're right, because I mean even for my language, so we only have one general terminology for Hispanics in general, and it's based around Mexico. So we call them all Mexicans in our language, but that's not accurate. You know, in reverse, in Espanol, you know, or at least in the Mexican dialect, they all call us Chinos, which is Chinese, based on China. So,
which I don't mind. I don't mind too much that one. I actually, when I was there and they called me Chino, I didn't mind it too much.
It's just the nature of the dialect, you know. I mean, and that's understandable because it's, you know, there's only a point where you have to understand where the culture is coming from in order not to be like in today's modern form of being overly offended by everything.
Exactly. Exactly. One thing that's interesting too is Hawaiians, they don't have a written language. That blew my mind when I found that out.
Oh, okay.
They use like their tattoos or like just word of mouth and like stories to tell their history and stuff. But there's nothing like written down or anything.
Interesting.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So that basically covers like the most of the initial like introduction questions. Like we basically just went circle around that. So that's pretty awesome. Now for A&A Tactical stuff, do you have any like upcoming events or products or goals and stuff for the company itself?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad we asked this question, because when I did my other interview, I was running on about 3 hours of sleep, so it was kind of all over the place.
But who is that with, by the way?
That was with EOD Fish.
Okay.
He's one of the explosive ordnance disposal people that we initially sent off a product to that designed all the tools and probes for them. So he provided like the testing and evaluation results from that. And so
Nice.
he's got a little YouTube channel where he tests gear and reviews gear and stuff. So, but yeah, I guess upcoming events we got coming up. We got the night vision class, and then we got a lot of classes coming up in 2022. But the night vision class specifically is coming up on November 19th. It's going to be hosted by us here in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. And then in regards to products and everything like that, we are doing another desert night camo release with Alpin Design Works, which is formerly Berg Spitzer Customs. And then we also got a duffel bag collab that we're doing with Latigo Customs, these folks here. And so expect to see those dropping definitely before the holiday season here. I don't know if we're going to be able to do a holiday delivery. It's going to be pretty tough with all the supply chain issues and everything, but at least you can bring somebody your receipt and be like, hey, I got you this for your birthday. It's going to be here. It's going to be here in January. But yeah, so we got that coming up. And then we're going to be offering kind of a lot more of a civilian or kind of lifestyle collection, just little things that you'll have lying around. The other day when I just took my first vacation in maybe about 2 or 3 years, I'd say. I took my first one about 2 or 3 weeks ago when I went to New Orleans, and I didn't have anything to travel with, and I was like, man, where am I going to put my toothbrushes and like all these little things? So we're gonna start trying to create like little organizers, little things that you're going to have around, things you can use for your car, like little odds and ends, because we have a lot of scrap material lying around, and from helmet covers and the other projects that we've done, and we got to try to convert a lot of the materials over into some smaller stuff. But yeah, you're going to see some little odds and ends and some new materials being used as well. I started your product actually, I think, is the first one utilizing that new stuff, that thermoplastic. So to be able to kind of stiffen up things. Have you noticed that? Did you notice that little thing in there?
Coincidentally, actually, I have it right here.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The
thermoplastic stuff, right? I think it was. Oh yeah,
it's embedded inside the.
It's inside the actual spine structure.
So I was worried that was going to kind of flex on you or squiggle on you, and so that was put in there to kind of stiffen it up and give it a little bit of structure. But yeah, so we're going to start to incorporate that where we can legally. The reason why I say legally is because there are some companies out there that have patents on where you can and can't put structured components like that. So that is why to this day, we don't have it in a lot of our stuff. So if you ever think to yourself, oh, so-and-so does this product better, it could be because that legally we can't make it that way. But we try to make it as close as we can to it. So I'm excited to use that. Also traveling to IFAI, we did see a lot more new materials, different materials coming out. They're going to be very, very interesting and useful to our application, stuff to make things lighter weight, stuff to make things, less visible, whatever it may be, different types of grip materials. So the world is ever changing, so it's, we are going to be trying to release a plate carrier. I did spend, I was up till about 4:30 last night or 4:30 in the morning today in the shop, working on it. I got the generation 1 down of it. Definitely like a lot of work that I got to do to be able to change it up. But I'm going to be reaching out to some buddies of mine to be able to help me out and make some changes with that. So definitely keep an eye out for that. We've made headway on it and it's coming.
So that's going to be an A&A Tactical specific product, not necessarily a collaboration then? It's going to be like your design?
It depends. It depends. Okay. It depends on how far I'm going to be able to get with it myself. Because it's a little, I'm not going to say it's like, I've done them before. I made a pretty nice one for my wife. It was a different type though. And now that I'm making this one, it's a little bit different. And I think I might have to recruit some help. And so it may be with one of my collaborator buddies.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. You gain.
Yes, absolutely.
You grab the expertise from where you need it.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, I was what did I pull out the other day? I got something in the mail, and it was some car part, and it was somebody else had made it, and it was like, yeah, because they just do it. If you look at the Volkswagen, I can't remember which Volkswagen van it is, but it's just a Dodge Caravan that they just put Volkswagen emblems on. But it's because Dodge made a really good van, and Volkswagen was like, man, it's going to cost us like a lot of money to make our own van. Let's just hit up somebody who does a good job at making vans, and then just slap it on there. Now it's not going to be that way with us. It's obviously going to be more. It's going to be a hybrid, collaboration type of thing. But it's always good too. I like getting multiple companies involved, because you get different ideas, because sometimes the way I do something is not the best. And sometimes I got a different idea that, might be better than the way that they do it. But that's going to be coming to light here soon, just because there's a lot of plate carrier options that have come about that are not very good. And they're only out there just because they can be out there, or that they're just because they know people will buy it and don't know any better necessarily. So there's a lot of incorrect gear being put out there. And we're like, man, we could make something for a good price that people could, last them a long time. So
yeah, absolutely too. Like you noted, Velocity Systems being one of your range sponsors out there too. Like I like their plate carriers a lot. Actually, I have two of theirs. Yeah. Their Scarab actually is probably one of my favorite plate carriers that I've tried out to date. It essentially has what I need, and then you can always expand upon that. But I'm always curious about what's new, because there's always an evolution of products, just like the plastic materials they're using, right? A lot of it is designed to be less prone for water absorption. It doesn't weigh you down as much. Because if anybody's ever shot in the rain or around, just in general, like once your clothing or your equipment gets soaked up, it sucks. It does suck. That's
and
go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, another thing too, the CQ cummerbund, we are going to be doing some like 7.62 variants of them as well, for like scars and things like that. And then we're going to try to make like ones compatible for AKs, things along those lines. We also may try to slim things down, try to go down and maybe do a 3-inch variant of it.
Okay.
We're toying with that idea. We'll see how that works out.
That'll probably work really well for like the smaller plate carriers, like the by-10 sizes or so. Yeah,
absolutely.
For you folks that are watching, you're not sure what he's talking about. CQ is their cummerbund design. Austin's A&A Tactical's cummerbund design. So essentially, it is an elastic cummerbund, typically, and there's the early systems for the M4 variant, but it's sized for M4 pouches and pistol or accessories within the same pocket. And what Austin was talking about before with that product that I had sent to him requesting was a custom product where he took the CQ and adapted to my Haley Strategic flat pack using first spear tubes in order to mount to my D3 CRM, essentially. So Austin did a great job with this, and actually I liked it so much that I ordered another one, but for my gray setup. So it's pretty interesting. I'm excited to see what new stuff, and I'm glad I can be part of that thinking process for you.
Absolutely, and we may offer that as a product if a lot of people ask you about it. We may end up doing it full time, or offering it as a on our site and everything like that. That's why I listed it as the CQ Seicho, because that would actually probably be what it would be called if you'd be okay with that.
But, whatever you want. It's your product, man. Whatever you want to do with that.
Usually what we do, we usually give somebody their name or there's something about it. There's other products like that on our site that have people's names or something like that in it, but their initials sometimes. So. But we're excited to do that product. We would like to start offering some other add-on or like add-on or what's the word I'm looking for? Like adapters, or compatibility adapter products, and that's definitely in the works as well. We want to start doing things with zip-on panels more, because we're trying to figure out the best way possible right now, and which we think we've got it pretty much narrowed down, but like how we're going to market like different back panel adapters, so that way you can use other companies' back panels, because everybody's got like different types of zippers on their different size or different orientation and stuff. And so we want to try to like make it on our site to where you can select on the drop down how you want to build it. Like I want to build this one to be compatible, like Mali compatible to this plate carrier interface, but take Cry zipper panels. Or I want to do a Mali interface with this and have it take the Spiritus LV119 panels, or LV119 back panel. So that way you don't necessarily have to have the carrier to have that back panel and stuff. So
that's pretty legit, man. That's like one of the downsides to the zip-on panels within the industry. Like you said, Cry has their own, Faro has their own, Velocity systems. They definitely have their own, right? It's no one's is compatible with each other. So that's pretty legit. I like that idea.
Yeah. Yep. And it's a downside. At the big dogs, they make them all proprietary, but it leaves business for us. Like we're like the remora fish, we make all like the fish underneath the shark, that clean up afterwards. And like, so it helps get us business by, making different products for these things. So yeah.
Well, we all know that the innovation is very much so in the aftermarket, right? Considering that it's just like your situation where, and actually with a lot of the folks that I've interviewed, is essentially they found a void in the market or something they didn't like, so they made their own, and it turns out that other people like that same thing too, or they wanted the same thing. So that's pretty
absolutely awesome, and companies need to recognize that. And like when I opened up my Roomba the other day, I got a new i7. It was like the self-dumping one or something like that, and it's like a very advanced model. And when I opened it up, there was this plastic wrap over it, and on the plastic wrap there was this warning label that I had to take off. And on the label it said something along the lines of, this device is equipped with optical sensors and some sort of electrical mumbo jumbo. And then it said if you can change the software, and they said it's like an open source software. So if you can change it, we highly recommend. If you can change it and make it better, we recommend doing so. Is what they said on it. So like, in other words, like, this company is flat out saying like, dude, if you hack this thing, make it better. And there's a few companies out there that are starting to do that. Shopify is one of them. Our website host. That's what I really like about them. I was complaining to them about like how I couldn't add more than 100 variants, because like some of the helmet covers we offer more than 100 different styles for, and between the mesh options and the camo options and stuff. And they said, hey, we can't fix it like ourselves in our site, and they linked it to this forum. They said in the forums, you can go see this guy, and he wrote this code. If you're familiar with coding, you can go ahead and put this in and like, recode it to this, or you can use one of these third-party apps, and like gave us a whole bunch of different stuff. And like, companies like that are awesome. That's how you grow as a company, is when you take the input of your customers and have the customers essentially be in your R&D department. And like, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because customers love to do that stuff for free. They love to help out for free, and like do that kind of stuff, because they could say like, hey, you see that CQ State Show? That's me, or like they see later, hey, you see how that Roomba goes in a zigzag pattern and doesn't do like diagonal like it used to do before, and this stuff, that's me, like that they get a kick out of that kind of stuff, and companies need to start being more I try to be as interactive with my customer base as my internet allows, and but that's why I think companies they've got to be very interactive, in tune with their customer base, especially, and let them do the open source stuff that, but yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. It changes the dynamic, the company dynamic, from feeling corporate and then making it more of like a community effort. It's just like the way that you and I communicate when we have ideas or toss back at each other, or the way that I communicate with the folks that follow me and stuff like that. There's always a bounce back.
Yeah.
It makes it feel more like we're in a community, and we're just regular people. Like there's no like corporate backing behind it, or no sponsors to try to get money from, or get money for. So absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So for you folks watching, for the CQ or that custom cummerbund, you can reach out to me if you have more questions, or reach out to Austin at A&A Tactical to see if you like something like that. I'm sure that he can make whatever you need. You know, you're still doing like custom stuff at people's requests, right? So they can always make what you need. Just because of the fact that soft goods, it's like no two people are the same. Our body types are different, how we use it. That's the whole reason I reached out to Austin for that custom CQ, because the Haley Strategic flat pack with the D3 CRM doesn't fit my body type very well. And actually, it's designed for like just somebody that's like 6 foot and like a lot more muscular than my, you know, skinny boy body and such. So, you know, Austin made it and it works a lot better for me. So it might work out a lot better for you guys. I mean, if you watch some of my videos, you notice that a lot of my plate carrier videos are more their size for my body, but a lot of people resonate with that because they are in between sizes as well. And I've talked to Austin about this quite a bit too, about just being that medium category, like nothing ever fits properly.
Yeah. I'm the same way. My hands, like, 'cause I'm a tall guy, but I'm a skinny guy, so I got to get like large gloves, but then they end up being so baggy. And
right.
Like, you know, I always fluctuate between like large plates and then medium plates, and it's always a hassle. And so yeah, it depends on the weather too. Like wintertime, I get bigger. You know, I'm like a bear, hibernate, and then so I got to go up to the large plates. But yeah, it's yeah, that's one thing I'm really excited about Shaw Concepts plate carriers, is how they can kind of go 2 different sizes. That's one of the beauties of it, you know, is that's gotta give a shout out to him and his product, because
they're on version 2 of that carrier now too. I saw the recent teaser photos for them, so that's a pretty solid system. You know, it's pretty much it's a one-stop shop plate carrier in general. You know, it's because you were talking about like the minimalist ones when you're buying stuff and you're building it up, but at the end it's going to cost the same, if not more, than what the Shaw Concepts carrier is, and theirs is like a fully supported system too. So it's similar to the concept of the Cry Concepts cage, where it's like it's a full system, basically full load bearing system. So that's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty awesome. So what advice do you have for other folks that want to get into this industry, similar either soft goods or just industry in general, from a business perspective?
Oh man. All right. So I've gotten like a couple little fun tips being a gun owner over the years. Number one, I'll start with the gun tips and then we'll go into like the nylon tips. Right?
Sure.
So the gun tips, don't listen to the safe. How many guns it says for the safe, don't listen to that. That's one of the biggest lies. All right, that's not a real figure. Stay away from Facebook ad companies. If you see this holster on this Facebook ad, or if you see like some sort of sponsored ad, 9 times out of 10, I will say, I'm not going to say all the sponsored ads on Facebook are crap, but same thing with the nylon world too. Most of the people who are doing sponsored ads are not always the best nylon manufacturers. One of the biggest exclusions to that would be Axle Advance. I see some sponsored ads for Axle. Axle's a solid color. Like I said, not all of them are bad, but a lot of them definitely just double check them, see how long they've been in business and stuff. But make sure they're not from another country. Make sure it's not a knockoff. Don't buy stuff from Amazon. One of the biggest issues is like, Amazon may get some like real aim points for sale, but like when the Chinese fakes that have the same SKU or the same ISBN has it, then they all get put into the same bin at the warehouse. And then, so it's a big, and Amazon holds it for the other sellers. And so like the fake guy could possibly have a real one actually sold on Amazon, because they're all grabbing from the real, possibly what they think is the real bin, you know? And then when you grab a real one, it could be a fake one that another seller had put into that, but you know what I'm saying? So like, just be very careful. Try to buy direct when you can, when it comes to like firearm stuff. Don't listen to the gun shop salesman. Listen to your trainer. That's the biggest thing. There's so many other tips, but I won't go into all those. I won't go into like all the crazy ones, but I mean, those are the main ones that I'd say. It's like, just be careful what you buy, and like, you know, review your stuff, and don't listen to the salesman people, you know, listen to your trainer. But
dude, like, you're not lying about the whole the knockoff ads on Facebook, dude. So the social media person for Law Tactical, and we've chatted quite a bit. And he sent me links about some of that stuff. Like some of the, like they're using real people's actual video footage
Yeah,
for those
it's
paid
crazy.
ads. So yeah, they're
Yeah,
stealing
those YouTube
the
videos.
footage.
Yeah, yeah, you can't trust any of that stuff. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And like the best way is just to not play into the marketing game of it. You know, it's like just report those ads anytime you see it. You know, like that's what I do. And like don't report it for guns though. Report it as like something else. Like it's false advertising is what you want to report it as. You know, because we don't want to get a anti-gun thing going on us. You know, but just like false advertising is what you want to do it as. But we lose millions upon millions of dollars, you know, billions of dollars due to IP theft of that kind of stuff. And that kind of goes to my other tip too, like with the nylon world, is don't buy those same things. Don't buy the knockoff stuff. If you can, try to buy the real product that the company makes, because, you know, companies like myself, we've been knocked off several times for our products. And it hurts, you know, because it's money out of our pockets. And I've seen some of these products do very well now. And it's like, man, you know, it's basically our product, but we did most of the work. And, you know, it's when you do this for a full-time job or like a living, you know, it's like we rely on this to pay our bills. And if we can't, like, and if we're actually like making this stuff and we're the ones really innovating and you're paying money to the people who are just copying, then you're hurting the development of the industry as a whole, because you're going to possibly put out or take R&D time away from the real innovative minds and not just the people copying, you know? And so like, you think you got a good deal buying this knockoff optic or knockoff belt or knockoff something or another. But what you don't know is that by you and all your other friends doing that, you just put a week back on R&D time or R&D budget of something else that could have been cooler for you guys later. And like, it's, of course, it's like, it's somebody like argue it's a stretch, you know, like these people have millions of dollars and stuff, but it's like when you guys do that a lot, there's a lot of money lost, and it's not good, you know. And but yeah, definitely don't buy like knockoff or clones of things. Count your stitches, make sure your stitches aren't too far apart or too close together on your gear. Make sure that it's sewn straight, and make sure it has appropriate tension. I won't go into depth like on what all this stuff means, because it would be, you know, we could talk for hours on it and stuff. But
we'll save that for
we'll do that one for the specific podcast.
Yeah, when you release your A&A like how-to videos, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, they and if those of you guys wanted to get into this industry, you know, definitely get yourself a good machine off the break. You're going to want a nice industrial machine, and you're going to want to find some good materials. We have a lot of materials on our site that we can help sell, or that we can sell you. We can also help make your own equipment too. We do OEM for other companies. Like when Shaw Concepts was first starting out, we OEM for them. And but yeah, I mean, the biggest tips that I have is just to work with other people, and don't look at like everyone as competition, and don't copy from people. That's like those are probably like the biggest tips that I would say. And yeah, just buy a good quality kit and know where it's coming from. And just know that like there are, like, we all may get the materials from the same place. Like my stuff comes from the same place that Cry comes from, or where Cry stuff comes from. The same thing with Eagle Industries, whoever it may be. And but it doesn't mean that we all put it together the same. So, you know, when you go to these people who are very inexperienced and they don't know what they're doing, and this is something that you put your life on the line with, that's dangerous. You know, it's very dangerous. You would never like just see like, you never just see like walking down to market and see like some guy selling custom seatbelts and just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to replace my car with those seatbelts, you know, without like seeing. Now, if you had like a huge thing, like this is my thing about my history. And like, I used to work at Boeing. I used to work at the FAA and now I do custom seatbelts. That's different. You know what I'm saying? But these people are not, like, they just all of a sudden just started sewing. Yeah. And, you know, if the guy had a record, then that's fine, you know, because I do know there's some people who work for companies for a long time and then leave. And then, you know, that's great. That's how a lot of companies in this world start, you know, and they start doing their own thing and they take their knowledge and stuff. But most of these people that you see pop up, they're just figuring out how to sew, and it's not the best. They're sitting there creating some stuff that, you know, like plate carriers or things that like belts or dog harnesses and stuff that just, it's like, man, it's a little too serious and stuff. If you're just making like a pillow or something like that, it's not a big deal. I mean, yeah, that's not the end of the world. I mean, I'd get a pillowcase made from a lot of people. I'd get a pillowcase made by a random guy to market. But I'm not going to get, some sort of helmet, or not helmet cover, but like a plate carrier or something like that made by somebody who's got no name behind it.
Right. Especially something that's supposed to be heavy use or work style equipment for sure, or lifeline equipment, really,
Yeah.
What about general life advice?
Oh man, life advice.
Like for you, like Austin Adams today, knowing what you know today, what general life advice do you have to give to the viewers?
Oh man, I heard this. It's kind of cliche, but I heard it in this video like a little while back, and I always say it, but it's once everybody starts looking at each other as a brother and as a human being, beauty will spread like wildfire. And that's the moral of the story. I make gear for all walks of life, all sorts of different military members across the globe, and all sorts of different names pop up on my list, and it's all for just one cause, and that is for safety. At least I hope. It could, ISIS could be buying at any moment, and like I may not know, but as a whole, like we all have the same goal, and like we as firearms owners, we like eat each other up, and like the country is pretty diverse as a whole, but like as like us, like we're all the same, and we just need to recognize that, and we're all different. Like we really are. Like if you were actually here and spent a weekend with me, or like if the public did and saw how like diverse I am as a person, or as diverse my family is politically, or just like socioeconomically, whatever it may be, like you'd understand, like, man, like there really is no, there's no cookie cutter firearms owner. You know what I'm saying? We're not like just racist white people or like conservative people. We come in like, even like Team Wendy had like all Democratic contributions.
Yeah.
Same thing with Gentex did too.
Yeah.
Surefire, etc. And like, they also say that that's pay to play, but it could also be that if they are Democrats, so what? Like that's the other thing that I want to talk with everyone about. Is that's my other tip too with the firearms industry, is you guys are canceling people all the time for like the weirdest stuff when it comes to like things that may not necessarily matter too much. Now there are some like people who get canceled out for like homophobic things or like racial things that I personally support, because like homophobic or like racial things, that just makes us as gun owners look bad. It was like when they had a Nazi flag flying at the gun show that we had around here a little while ago. One of my buddies like offered to buy the flag for $500 just to bring it down, and just because like we don't want the media to be there to take a picture of the gun show in Virginia and then have the Nazi flag flying, because that just looks bad. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you can't have that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to like, oh, so-and-so likes Hillary Clinton, or so-and-so is a Democrat, or so-and-so is a Republican, like it doesn't matter. Like, because like the person who just took your meal at the McDonald's might have been a Democrat, or, your surgeon who just pulled the bullet out of your chest is a Democrat, or maybe they're a Republican, whatever, maybe they're gay. Like, it doesn't matter, and like at the end of the day, like we're here to make money and we're here to save people's lives. And it doesn't matter like what political viewpoints are. If the company puts out a great product, great. Like me, I support gay marriage a lot, but I really, really like Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and I can't stop going. And like, I like if they were actively like going to gay like weddings and stuff, and like we're egging people's stuff, I wouldn't go there. You know what I'm saying? But like if that's how the owner feels, then that's how the owner feels. Like he also might like 22 Jump Street, and I think 21 Jump Street was better. It's like where are you going to draw the line? Like too many people are like getting all upset about this kind of stuff and like canceling out these people because of their it's like I want to like shout out to fellow Asian. What's the guy from The Hangover? He's like, but did you die though? Like, I want to put that under all the, I want to put like underneath like all the people like who said like Team Wendy is Democrat or something. I want to put that, but did you die though? Like with him with like a little Team Wendy hook, because you're not going to die. The helmet fucking works. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it doesn't matter like what happens at the end of the day, like the helmet fucking works. But yeah, that's, I guess my life advice. Well, my first part was the life advice about looking at everyone beautifully, but my specifically like firearms advice is like, everyone's just got to like chill out and like stop like eating each other over politics stuff, because at the end of the day, if we could get Democrats like on our side, then we keep our rights longer. That's the thing. It's like, instead of being friends with Democrats, like we sit there and try to eat both sides apart, when those are the people you want to try to appease and try to be cool with, so that way they stop pushing laws. Those people that you're trolling on Facebook right now that are like the mid-20s and 30s, they're going to be political age later, like in 10 years from now, and their negative experience that they have with gun owners is going to shape the laws in this future.
Right.
And so like, you got to stop trolling people, and also stop writing the ATF. What the fuck? Like, stop writing the ATF. I'm gonna say it one more time. Like, you guys brought on this brace ban shit. You guys don't think it's a coincidence that after the FOIA Act was released, that SB Tactical had only gotten like 2 braces approved out of like the 30 something that they were selling, that all of a sudden the ATF is now going to start enacting stuff on braces? It's because they did not care until you guys rang the bell enough times to where they had to put it out there that they weren't caring. And then now all of a sudden they got to care. So like, everyone just stop poking the bear, chill out, and start trying to be cool with Democrats and stuff, because they are, you know, like, they're going to possibly get rid of guns, or we could try to like work on this together. But like, you know, that's the way I look at it.
No, you are right, actually. So a lot of the ATF intrusions over the past like decade or so have usually been stemmed from some random dude that wants definitive and okay from the ATF, and they send the letter and it comes back, and of course it overrides a previous letter that was sent out to another company, you know, because they're done by different people at this point, and it just messes up everybody. You know, it's
just get some land and do it. Just mind your business. Right. All you got to do. The ATF does not care. It does not care. It's when you make it like my buddy was telling. I got a cousin-in-law that works at the ATF, and he was telling me that they just started hiring this last year because they've kept the same people for the past 20 years. And it hit me. It's like, this administration is really just kind of there for shits and giggles, and it doesn't really have to do much until it has to do something. Yeah. And like, we as gun owners keep on giving them something to do by like the weird type of stuff we make, like those little binary triggers and stuff, where like, you know, it's like a part of me, like, I don't want these laws to happen anymore, but I'm tired of having stricter laws. Like, if we could have just like instead of creating something new that I didn't know about that like skirts by the law, like, everyone just chill and let's just like leave it where it is, like right here, right now, forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's, unfortunately, it's not that way. But you know, stop bugging the ATF, stop poking the bear. It wants to sleep and just collect a pension at the end of 20 years. It doesn't want to do Waco stuff again. Just let it sleep. Like,
you're absolutely correct too, that you know, you should see your neighbor as a person before their titles or whatever title you want to brandish upon them. You know, it's like they're your neighbor first. Well, they're human first, so they're your neighbor after the fact. And they're probably going to be the ones, regardless of your creed or whatever's going on, that's going to be the ones who probably try to help pull you out of your house if it's on fire. You know? Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, that's really how it is. It's that we've gone away from the threshold of what it means to be a community, like your own personal self-reliance, your own community self-reliance, and then in general society, right? So we've gone away from the micro to the macro, and now we're focusing more on macro versus personal level, you know. But I suppose that's one of the secondary missions of this channel is to humanize brands, just to get these concepts out to the public, you know. But my channel's like tiny, nobody knows who I am, but it's out there. You know, it's out there, and if people want it, it's going to be there for them to watch. So it's awesome. Awesome. So let's see here. Okay. So final thoughts from Austin.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much it. There could be so much more, but my family's got dinner waiting for me here.
Sure.
Soon, so, I
gotcha.
And, but yeah, I mean, I'll definitely come on as many times as you want. I love this kind of stuff. You know, I definitely love to have, you know, a discussion about this more Asian American related stuff. And, you know, there's so much to expand upon in regards to that. But no, it was great to come on here and introduce myself. I definitely feel it was a good first run for the channel here. And yeah, I would love to be back anytime. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have another project going with a few other more prominent Asian Americans in the social media circle. We were thinking about doing interview style podcast or so. But when that happens too, I always said that the people that I've interviewed from my channel, I'm sure they'll be glad to come on. So once I get more details on that, I'll gladly bring it up to you. But you and I, we're gonna chat throughout the days anyway. So I mean,
most definitely. Yeah.
So
good.
That's how it works. For Austin, for me, for my channel, I do have a discount code for A&A Tactical if you guys want to use that. I don't get anything out of it when I approach Austin with the idea. I just said, just give me a code to help promote A&A Tactical. I don't need anything out of it. Whatever helps promote your shop, then go and take that. FYI, folks, for the things that I've gotten from A&A, like I bought, and for the most part, I paid full price except for the fact that sometimes Austin just says, don't worry about it. He just sends me stuff. Such a nice guy, really nice guy. But for the most part, I pay for everything. So that's how that works out. Cool.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
So that's pretty much it, folks. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jesse, bunny operator, and of course, this Austin with A&A Tactical. Oh, by the way, Austin's mom made my helmet cover, the Multicam Tropic one you've seen on my channel.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
So thank your mom for me, and then
I will.
And then we'll do that. So that's pretty much it. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. This is episode 6 of Inside the Industry with Austin Adams of A&A Tactical. Go ahead and say your goodbyes, Austin.
Alrighty. Thank you, guys. You all take care. And I do want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for your business and support. And Jesse, I hope you have a great night.
Yeah.
You guys take care.
You too, buddy. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you soon.